Good evening. It's 6 o'clock and we will get started. I'd like to welcome and thank the families, friends, and supporters for coming here tonight, encouraging your cadets throughout the entire program, and most importantly, supporting your cadet through the struggles of attending the police academy. I want to thank you for your attendance and hope you enjoy this special evening. As we get started, I would like to introduce some people that have made this night possible. I'd like to introduce the staff, or as I like to call them, the Academy family that makes this all happen. The Academy has been blessed with a team of dedicated individuals that do an incredible amount of the work to get the cadets from the very first call of I'm interested in being a police officer to this point at their graduation. First off, I would like to introduce Assistant Director of Academy Operations, Jerry DeSoy. Jerry's the retired Chief of Police from Wilkes-Barre City, was a professor at Luzerne County Community College, and stepped up to become an Assistant Director. Our newest addition to the Academy family, I'd like to introduce Kevin Mahoney. Kevin's retired lieutenant from the Pennsylvania State Police and started with our staff a short week ago. So we still have a really good thing going until he finds out all the fun that he will have. I would also like to introduce someone who is very special to the Academy and has worked very hard to help us get here. And that is retired Captain Will Oliphant. I met Will quite a few years ago as he was a director of the Academy. He's retired from the Pennsylvania State Police as a captain and has a wealth of knowledge and background. After his retirement from the State Police, he came to work here as the director for the Academy, and I had worked for him, so it was a great joy for him to be working for me. I learned a great deal from Mr. Oliphant, and I call him Mr. with all due respect. After Will's retirement from here, and I became director, I called him back. And I said, just when you thought you were out, I bring you back in. And he was a great asset to our academy. I'd also like to introduce our administrative and operational assistant, Paul Bowman, who is behind the curtain making sure all this goes well. Paul is one of our current instructors, former chief of police. He was a patrol officer for 27 years and came on board as an operational and administrative assistant. I would also like to introduce, and I don't know if she made it this evening, Denise Boyle. Denise has been with the Academy for many years and is responsible for the very detailed admission process. Your cadet met Denise Boyle as the first person related to this academy who walked them through the admissions process. Without Denise and her hard work, none of this would be possible. Our academy instructors, and I know many of them are out there tonight, if you refer to the last 2 pages of your graduation program, you will find a listing of our highly respected instructors. The listing includes their employment and their specialty. Many of these instructors are still on the job. In fact, the majority of them are. And they carry a great deal of background and experience. We have a cadre of absolutely the best instructors that represent federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. They share their experience and knowledge to develop the best law enforcement officers and future law enforcement leaders. And I ask if the instructors are out there, please stand up. I thank all of them. I now would like to introduce our honored guest on stage. In addition to the staff that I just introduced, I'd like to introduce William Shane. Bill's my boss, so he gets introduced first. He represents the college continuing education department. He is the director of the Lackawanna College Continuing Education Department. The department was recently reorganized, and he has taken it so far and has provided so much to our staff, our instructors, and to the cadets. I would next like to introduce Dominic DeNaples. He represents the Lackawanna College Board of Trustees. He's been a longtime supporter and one of the Academy's biggest cheerleaders. I thank Mr. DeNaples for all of his help and many, many years of dedicated service to Lackawanna College. Seated behind me is Frankie Andrea. Frank is our guest speaker tonight. He's retired from the Pennsylvania State Police, former chief of the Hazleton Police Department, and is one of our lead instructors and curriculum developers. Dr. Jill Murray, president of Lackawanna College, could not be with us this evening. Next, we'd like to introduce Ethan Golden. He's a member of he is one of the board of directors of Never Forgotten Motorcycle Ride and Scranton Police Department. And a little later in the program, you will hear the incredible initiative that the Never Forgotten Motorcycle Ride has joined with us to provide to our cadets. And finally, I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine, Dennis D'Agostino. He's a chaplain with the Scranton Police Department, Pennsylvania State Police, Scranton Fire Department, and pastored the Steamtown Church in Scranton. Dennis also has developed a program that he presents to all of our cadets shortly before graduation. Many of our cadets have returned, our graduates have returned to tell me that the words that he mentioned to them, that he said during his presentation, resonated with them in some of their most difficult times in their life. I thank you, my friend. Tonight's ceremony is being photographed and recorded. The photos and the DVD recording will be provided to the cadets to memorialize this special evening. So now, what you have been waiting for, we're going to begin our ceremony. We have with us representatives from the current classes. Full-time Scranton Class 253, Scranton Part-Time Class 254, and Scranton Full-Time Class 255. They are here tonight to support their fellow cadets as they graduate. Class 253, 54, and 55 will now enter and take their seats. I now ask all of our guests to please stand as the cadets enter the theater and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the class captain, and the invocation that will be led by Chaplain D'Agostino.
I
We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Captain Beloga. United States of America, and to the republic stands a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Please remain standing for our chaplain, Dennis DiAgostino, who will now have the invocation.
Would you be so kind and join me for a word of prayer? Let's bow our heads. God, you rule over everything, including these graduates tonight. Please be with them who are graduating from the Police Academy, class number 252. God, number one, I pray for their safety, that you, God, would take care of them, take care of their families, keep them, protect them, sustain them, God. In the tradition of the Academy, Lord, we dedicate their training and graduation to Fallen Officer Corporal Joseph Raymond Picorni, Jr. End of watch, Monday, December 12th, 2005, PSP Troop P, Pittsburgh. God, I pray for the cadets, for strength, courage, resolve, integrity, honor, and character. And finally, Lord, I want to take a moment on behalf of all of their loved ones tonight to thank you for the journey so far and to entrust whatever's next. Thank you, Lord, for being an amazing Savior. It's all for your honor and glory, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. God be with you, graduates.
Thank you, Chaplain. Guests can now be seated. At this point in our program, we will now have the final inspection of the cadets. The cadets will now undergo their final inspection as a class. The Academy is a paramilitary organization, just as police departments are. We require uniforms, conduct inspections, perform drilling ceremony activities, and we have a command structure, and the cadets wear their Class A uniform for this evening's ceremony. The final inspection is being conducted by a member of the Lackawanna College Board of Trustees, Mr. Dominic DeNaples, who is a veteran of the United States Army. He is being assisted by Officer Jeff Hughes, one of our instructors, and he's also a veteran of the United States Marine Corps.
Director, I now return to you Class 252. This class is well and duly prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Tables. Drill Instructor Hughes, please take command of Class 252. The Pennsylvania Municipal Police Training Academy at Lackawanna College has been in existence for 48 years. It was one of the first academies in the Commonwealth to train municipal officers. None of this would be possible without the support of Lackawanna College. We will now hear from the representative of the Lackawanna College Board of Trustees, Mr. Dominic DeNaples. He will now share a few words with our cadets. He's been a longtime supporter of this academy, and we're honored to have him here tonight. Mr. DeNaples.
Thank you, Director. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for your attendance. My remarks, my comments will be very brief, general in nature, and directed primarily to those 22 cadets. This gathering here tonight for this purpose again demonstrates Lackawanna College's continued commitment and contribution to higher learning, culture, and to getting people job ready here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Lackawanna College is not new in the teaching business. We have been educating and conferring degrees for a period spanning over 3 centuries. We began way back in the 1800s, all through the 1900s, and well into the 2000s. And tonight, honor, distinction, and pride has come to visit us one more time. Tonight, the honors and the distinction rest with this Class 252. The pride as always will remain here at the Academy, and more especially with all of you, the families of the graduates. More especially because you are the people who helped with the tuition, the transportation, the babysitting, and so forth. You are also the people who gave them the encouragement and that little extra push to carry on when the road here at the Academy may have gotten a little bit bumpy. And yes, folks, the road is rather bumpy. The hill is steep and it's curvy. The way is very challenging and somewhat difficult. However, those 22 cadets know that this is a small price that must be paid and the sacrifice that must be made in exchange for all of this, the bigger opportunity of being here today. Class, you look great. This certification you're about to receive doesn't come alone. It takes with it certain additional responsibilities on your part. All of a sudden, you're going to become somewhat of a role model. You're going to be looked up to by your friends, your neighbors, and your family, and more especially the youth and the children you come in contact with. The bar is now lifted on your personal behavior, and you must conduct yourselves accordingly. Class, you are well trained, you are well prepared, and you're smartened up and shined up and scrubbed up. Do they look good? I think they look great. However, the one single unanswered question, how will they serve? How will they protect the dignity and the integrity of the badge of a police officer? How will they keep it clean, pristine, and free from tarnish and blemish? How will they serve? Class, how will you serve? I have the answer. During the inspection, I visited each and every one. And doing so, I look into the eyes and the faces of each and every cadet. What am I looking at? What do I see? I do not see doubt, confusion, uncertainties. I see hope, promise, confidence. I see that eagerness and willingness to learn, to discover, and to go forward in life. And life, as we all know, is one constant and continuous learning experience. A young mind, enriched, enlarged, expanded, with all of the values and virtues that this certification brings, cannot and will never return to its former size because skill, talent, knowledge are no burden to carry. When we separate and leave here today, some of you have jobs to go to, others will be seeking employment. You need to be the very, very best at whatever you endeavor into. Set your sights high, point your arrows upwards, skywards, and do not be afraid to take that chance, for the biggest loss will be taking no chance. Learn to apply the extra effort. Why extra effort? Because the ordinary effort does not always work. What is extra effort? Extra effort lies within. It's in your gut, in your backbone, in your mind. Extra effort is that eagerness and willingness to learn, discover, and go forward, and that absolute refusal to quit or to give up. Class, let's take a good look at reality. Look at that real world out there today. Out in that real world today, it's the person who applies himself, the one who digs in, perseveres, and lasts the very longest. It is not always the brightest bulb that survives and becomes successful. Class, do not underestimate yourselves. The human body and the human mind will perform far, far beyond your expectations, but you must challenge them. You must challenge them. Do not doubt yourself. You can't do it. Today, class, you will add to yourselves one new dimension of character. You will add to yourselves an indelible mark of distinction that will remain with you. And here today, at this level, you will graduate from the absolute finest and most challenging police academy in this Commonwealth. As it now becomes your turn to maintain, add to, and build upon that long legacy that law enforcement has enjoyed throughout the ages. This great reputation has resulted from those who served before you, people like your director, your cadre of instructors who usually gather in this area, and they're second to none. And if you read your program, look under your program, you will see they are all listed by name. And further note that they come from all walks of life and every avenue and aspect of law enforcement, and each and every one of them are experts and specialists in their own little focused areas of expertise. And they're here for a few reasons. Well, they're not here for the money, because around here, anything above minimum wage is considered overpayment, and that remark was intended to draw a little laughter. Okay? Let me tell you why they're here. They're here because they realize the need for good law enforcement. They're here because they know that everything necessary to become a good police officer cannot be found online or in the textbook. They're here because they want to pass on to you, impart on, give to you all that they have learned, accomplished, and experienced throughout their careers. And for that, let us again give the instructors their well-deserved recognition. Okay, class, you're certified, you're going to work. You get up in the morning, you don the uniform of the day, which consists basically of protective clothing, handguns, hand grenades, handguns, that was the old job, handguns, handcuffs, communicating devices, and so forth. Tonight, the old man with the gray hair and the bald head wants to give you a few more items to put in that tool chest. And those items I'm about to give you, you must always have with you and never leave behind. Number one is your physical endurance. Maintain your physical endurance. Number two, likewise, maintain your mental endurance. And number three is courage. And finally, fourth, probably the most important of all, is good old-fashioned common sense. You're going to have to know how to and when to policemanize a situation, and you're also going to have to know how to and when to humanize a situation. And I'm sure those traits will be honed sharply with experience. Class, you are now a product of Lackawanna College's Police Academy, and you will always wear our label. Going forward in life, you must posture yourself and position yourselves so that we here at Lackawanna can always be as proud of you as we are today. May God bless you. May God bless and guide our United States of America, and may He watch over you throughout your entire career.
Thank you, Mr. DeNaples. We will now introduce the class chain of command for the graduating class 252. The chain of command is selected by the Academy Director with input from the Academy instructors and staff. This is part of the Academy training to introduce them to the organizational structure of a police department and the chain of command that they will be working under. We emphasize communication, organization, and discipline. We exercise judgment, handling issues and problems as they arise. The chain of command for class 252, and I ask you to please stand as I call your name. Captain Beloga. Lieutenant Weihammer. Sergeant Ruiz. Sergeant Rodriguez. These individuals were responsible for the organization and structure of this class. The communication would be passed down from one of the assistant directors to the captain of the class, who would then ensure that it's passed down to the cadets in the class. How about another round of applause for the chain of command? Job well done. Take your seats. At this point in the program, we will now have some remarks by the captain of class 252. Captain Beloga, please step forward.
Thank you, Director Tulare. First and foremost, I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for coming. I'd also like to thank all of the administration staff for making this experience one of the greatest of our lives. Thank you, Director Tulare, for running this amazing academy and taking your time to make this experience a great one for all of us. Thank you, Assistant Director DeSoy, for working tirelessly to ensure that our graduation date wasn't pushed back too far due to snow days, and making sure everyone that missed days due to COVID or anything else had them made up fast. Also, thank you for answering my 1,000,001 questions. I definitely did not envy your job, but like you told me, at least you weren't getting shot at anymore. Thank you to all of our instructors, Mr. Leonard, Mr. Sirkin, Mr. Yuskevich, Mr. Oliphant, Mr. Zapovsky, Mr. Gilroy, Mr. Brown, Mr. Monaco, Mr. Kashak, Mr. Bowman, Mr. Michaels, Mr. Bernardi, and Mr. Schoner for making sure we understood all of the material and getting us through all of our tests. We could not have done this without each and every one of you. I also want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Andrea on behalf of the entire class for making sure we were not only ready for everything this academy was going to throw at us, Delta V, it's not rocket science, guys, but also making sure that we were ready for our interviews and our lives as police officers once we graduated. I'd also like to thank the two of you for answering all of my phone calls and questions and making sure that I was always the best version of myself no matter what I was trying to do. You both made me feel like I could conquer the world. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone's family and friends. Thank you for dealing with us when we were stressed out, studying for tests. Thank you for letting us practice our standard field sobriety tests and handcuffing on you, and everything else you all had to endure these last 8 months to help us become the best police officers we can be. Day one at the academy was super stressful for all of us. We had to sit so far apart that we weren't really able to talk to anyone. But day one was nothing compared to inspection day. We all waited quietly up against the wall in the hallway to be called up one by one to the 3rd floor. We had no idea what we were about to walk into. I walked into the room and swore it was Bane himself standing in front of me, telling me to do push-ups in cadence. I didn't even know what that meant, but believe me, I figured it out really quick. We were asked that day why we wanted to come to the academy. Everyone had their own answers, but in a nutshell, we all had the same passion of helping our communities. A couple cadets said they wanted to be cops, and that's when we were told that we couldn't use that word until we proved ourselves. That was the real first day of the next 8 months of our lives, and although I was so nervous, I was also super excited, as I'm sure all of my fellow cadets were. When we started having our classes at the Hazleton campus, we all started coming out of our shells. We became comfortable and started learning more and more about each other. I never envisioned our class would become as close as we are. Of course, there were some arguments, but put 22 people in a room together for 40 hours a week with all different views and you'll have that. The first real debate was Starbucks or Dunkin'. I mean, we are going to be at the coffee shop a lot once we graduate, so obviously that had to be made a big deal. I'm still not sure what the real outcome of that was, though. Since early on, we started telling each other to grow up, and that quickly became the catchphrase of our class. Rank structure was assigned, and I couldn't have been happier. Class 252 has to have the best class officers out of all the other classes. I may be a little biased, though. We all worked so well together, and honestly, my lieutenant and sergeants made my job as captain so easy. Chief DeSoy came into our class one day and cracked a joke about how I would be nothing without my other officers. He has no idea how true that statement was. They taught me so much, and I feel because of them, I am going to be a great police officer. We also appointed another person to rank unbeknownst to the administration, class mom Sophia Hans. She was the one who made sure all of us were happy and our sugar levels were at max daily with her table full of snacks. This is the tightest knit class I have ever been involved in, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you, even when we are putting holes in the walls. Everyone helped each other, and we always had and will have each other's six. Between lectures, PT, scenarios, practicals, DT, EVOC, firearms, and every other class we had, we all became so close. I don't know what I'm going to do without seeing them every single day, but I know that we will all keep in touch for the rest of our law enforcement careers, and I hope the rest of our lives. After today, we are all going our separate ways, and while I'm sad that we won't see each other as much, I can honestly say that I am proud of each and every one of you. Whatever department you all end up in, we'll be so lucky to have you. I truly believe that these past 8 months have given us all the framework to become the best police officers we can be. I think I can finally say we have all grown up, and I'm so happy that I am part of the Lackawanna College Police Academy Class 252. I have one final question for Assistant Director DeSoy. Are we allowed to call ourselves cops yet?
With pride and confidence.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Captain. Interesting story about the hole in the wall. It's probably not a normal call that somebody in the college receives, However, I received a call one day and they said, we have another problem at Hazleton with the wall. And I somewhat knew what they were talking about because of the past problem. And they said, well, there's a hole in the wall and I said, well, okay, do we know how it happened? And they said, we're pretty sure it's shaped like a body. And I said, well, the question I have is the body still in there? So we are a different type of program in the police academy, and when I took over in 2018, I had a meeting with all of our instructors, and interestingly enough, many of us have worked together for many, many years on the street. I've been an instructor since 1991, and I had told them that there's going to be a change, not only at the state level, a new curriculum, but we will now train officers to deal with everything that comes at them. Obviously, we want to see our officers go home at the end of the night. But we really want the blue line. You hear that so often by the media, but we really want that blue line to mean something. And the captain expressed it best. They became a family that helped one another when they needed it. The blue line is not about covering up wrong. The blue line is making sure that pride, honor, integrity, and courage is something we do every day. We go home not only at the end of the night, but we want to go home with honor. I have a 4-year-old and a 13-year-old. And the 4-year-old never had the experience of dad being on the street as a police officer. My oldest son, the day I took over as director, and I apologize because it is so touching to me because you don't realize what your young children and your family understand. And he was in our walk-in closet that we have in our home, and he said, Daddy, I guess you don't need this anymore. And he took a garment bag that I had prepared in the event of line of duty death. And it had letters into my son, my youngest son, and my wife, and my family. And that meant so much that he said, I know you will always keep it because it was so important to your life, this uniform. But I'm happy you're the director now. And I tell that story because this job becomes your life, unlike any other job I've ever had or career I've ever had. And at this part of our program, we are going to distribute some awards. The awards are given to the cadets for a variety of categories. The cadets do not know until this moment who are the recipients of the awards. But what I want to say to the class, the award that I receive is watching these honorable men and women sit on this stage to embark on a career like no other. People ask, would you do it again? I said, yes, but at a much earlier age. I would start out. The first award is the Driver's Proficiency Award. It's sponsored by the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association. I will ask Assistant Director Jerry DeSoy to join me in presenting the award to Cadet Yannick. The second award is Handgun Proficiency Award. This is sponsored by the Northeast PA Chiefs of Police Association. I'll ask Academy Assistant Director Kevin Mahoney to step forward and join me to present this award to Cadet Bellis. The next award is the highest Scholastic Achievement Award. This is the highest average of all courses scores combined. The cadets participate in approximately 940 hours of academy of state required training and another 150 to 200 hours of training that we added additional to the curriculum. This is a very special award. It's in memory of our past director, Mary Ann Gripple, who had passed away way too early at the age of 51. Academy Assistant Director Jerry DeSoy will be presenting this award to Cadet Champenour. The next award is the Physical Fitness Award. This is another example of the collaboration between our academy, local law enforcement, and the state police. This is the Trooper Joshua D. Miller Physical Fitness Award. Trooper Miller was a graduate of the Lackawanna College Police Academy before entering the Pennsylvania State Police and was killed in the line of duty. The recipient of this award is chosen based on the combined scores of all the physical fitness testing throughout the academy, and it is a very rigorous and intensive program. Tonight's award will be presented by Academy Assistant Director Kevin Mahoney to the Cadet Bellis. We're now at the point of the program where we'll be presenting the graduation certificates. One of our most recent collaborations is with the Never Forgotten Motorcycle Ride. When I became director in 2018, this organization approached me and said that we really want to help out new graduates, new police officers, and we want to do something really special for them. The organization is dedicated to the wellness of police and first responders, and also keeping the memory of our fallen first responders alive. They are once again donating a $100 gift certificate from Star Uniform to each graduate of our program for items that they may need as they begin their careers. We cannot thank them enough for this generous gift. Each cadet will receive the gift certificate as they receive their graduation certificate. With us tonight from Never Forgotten Motorcycle Ride is Officer Ethan Golden. He's on the board of directors of Never Forgotten Motorcycle Ride and is a Scranton police officer. He will be presenting the gift certificate to the graduates as they receive their certificates. As we begin to present the certificates, you will notice that many of our cadets are in uniform. The cadets are given the option to wear the uniform of departments that recently hired them. And we have a very large group of our cadets who have already been hired. I'm very proud of them. In addition, the cadets are given an option to have someone in law enforcement or the military to present their certificate. Some have chosen to have a person join them on stage as they receive their certificate. At this time, I will ask Academy Assistant Director Mahoney and DeSoy to join me. I'm requesting that any of the individuals who will be presenting a certificate, please move to the left of the auditorium to where our drill instructor is. As you head over there, drill instructor Hughes will provide to you information as to when you will be approaching the stage. As you approach the stage, please be careful on the steps as you enter the stage and as you exit the stage. Thank you.
Angel Abreu Nunez, certificate presented by his cousin, Emmanuel Jimenez, Baltimore Police Department. Class Captain Alexandra Beloga. Brandon Batchak, certificate presented by his father, Ray Batchak, Department of Corrections. Chris Bellis, certificate presented by Josh Selfie, Weatherly Police Department. Class Sergeant Angel Sestero Ruiz, certificate presented by Danny Garcia, Weatherly Police Department. Taryn Crawford, certificate presented by his father, Tim Crawford, Special Investigator, Federal Prison System. Mason Dubalis, Chris Dimmick, Sophia Hans, Mom. Ashley Harris, certificate presented by her grandfather, George Fulton, retired Pennsylvania State Police. Brianna Mandak, certificate presented by her father, Deputy Chief Brian Mandak, Hazleton Fire Department. Tyler Norton, certificate presented by Chief Dan Hunsinger, 44th Police Department. Nico Palermo, certificate presented by his grandfather, George Morgan, retired United States Army. Thank you for your service, sir. Jacob Piazza. Class Sergeant John Rodriguez. Elizabeth Chapanor, certificate presented by her cousin, Aaron Templin, Philadelphia Housing Authority Police Department. Alan Stroll. Jessica Serkin, fourth generation police officer, certificate presented by her father, Larry Serkin, retired Detective Sergeant, first class, Mullica Township, New Jersey, and current Police Academy instructor. Watson, certificate presented by his cousin, Paul McAdams, Allentown Police Department. Class Lieutenant Michael Weimer. Brian Waratella. Jordan Yannick.
How about a round of applause for Class 252? This evening is very special. An awful lot of hard work, dedication, and commitment. On behalf of the cadets, the families, the instructors, and many organizations that have assisted us. One organization in particular I would like to make note of, and you've heard the name tonight a few times. The last name is Serkin. Larry is one of our instructors. His daughter, a fourth generation law enforcement officer now, a graduate, and his wife Janelle. When many of the places were closed that we utilized, fitness facilities, other training facilities, a few of them stepped up and said, we may be closed for business, but we're there to help you. Janelle Serkin, would you please stand? She is the mover and shaker at the YMCA in Berwick, where the cadets trained. And we were fearful that we would not be graduating this class because that is the licensed or the facility that is recognized by the State Training Commission for physical fitness training. She made sure it happened, and we appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Our main guest speaker tonight became an instructor not all that long ago for us, and has many, many years of law enforcement experience, has been involved with our training program, again, for a short period of time. Frankie Andrea has been there throughout this class and has helped out so much. He has 40 years of law enforcement and investigative experience, to include the United States Army Military Police, retired Pennsylvania State Police Sergeant, prior Chief of Police of Hazleton Police Department, and is the president of DeAndrea Investigation and Securities. He is a court-certified expert in fingerprint and footwear comparison, and has a wealth of knowledge in a variety of topics. Frank is one of our lead instructors for development of continuing education for our police academy and has been recognized throughout the nation at many events that he had spoke at. Frank and his wife Sandy, who's here with us tonight, Sandy is also one of our instructors. It's a family thing. It's the first thing I like to tell everyone. Frank and Sandy have been there for all of the cadets throughout this entire program. Without them, many of the topics, because again, throughout the COVID experience, many of the instructors were also kept in an isolated situation for whatever reason. And they would step up to cover just about any class we asked them. At this point, I'd like to have Frank step forward. Frank, I want to thank you not only for speaking here tonight, but for being there for all of our cadets in Hazleton. You did a great job. Thank you. Frank, all yours.
Parents, loved ones, honored guests, faculty, staff, class. I'd like to welcome everyone to the graduation ceremony of the Lackawanna College Police Academy, Class 252. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Frankie Andrea, and I have had the honor and privilege of being an Academy instructor of Class 252 since they began their journey. Normally, the keynote speaker is famous or important or both. However, tonight you're stuck with me. 3 months ago, I asked Director Chilleri and Deputy Director Desoy for permission to be allowed to speak this evening with the hopes of using this time for one final block of instruction. That permission was granted 3 months ago, and I am grateful for the opportunity to speak with all of you one final time. For the last 3 months since April 2021, with the help from the director, the assistant director, and much of the cadre, we have been able to keep my being the keynote speaker at graduation a secret. I painstakingly prepared for this night as I want it to be memorial and memorable for all of you. My 252. In my unique style of instructing, I will not be standing on a desk tonight, but I do have some surprises in store. So, you thought you were done with me. As the Academy class is aware, out of the 44 or so times that I have instructed them, I have worn a suit all but 6 times, and those 6 times were scenarios where I was getting cuffed and thrown on the floor. I wear a suit out of respect for this class. They have grown to deserve much more than that. They now have earned my admiration as well. I ask you, class, what will you remember? We were all over the board, weren't we? Will you remember Mrs. DeAndrea making fun of my IQ? Or her keep it simple, stupid method versus my grandiose planning? Do I expect you to recall the chemical equation for photosynthesis? 6CO2 plus 6H2O equals C6H12O2. Or that photosynthesis is endothermic. Or that it takes 44,000 kilometers an hour, 25,000 miles an hour to exit Earth's atmosphere and orbit the Earth? What about the difference between the molecular structure of pseudoephedrine to some of us, and methamphetamine, C10H15NO versus C10H15N, or how to extract the O? Will you remember RPDM, recognition prime decision making, and how our brains are like little computers that go through the filing cabinet to come up with an answer of how we should react to something. Perhaps risk frequency analysis and where we get in trouble with low frequency, high risk up in that top left block. Ladies and gentlemen, these were examples that I used to drive home various points in the lesson. And yes, at times I was known to even stand on a desk to make sure that what I was saying sunk in as being important. The first day we met, I referred to myself as the idiot in the blue suit, because I knew right then they would be teaching me much more than I could ever teach them. Oftentimes I would grasp at different ways to attempt to explain policing, trying to instruct the lesson in a memorial way. Tonight, the idiot in the blue suit will ask your indulgence as I share with you what I believe to be the two most important things to remember and take with you from our time together. Lesson 1, the genius theory. The accolade was the central act in the rite of passage ceremonies confirming knighthood in the Middle Ages. Write that down. From about 1852, right around the time Millard Fillmore became president, it changed to meaning praise, award, an honor. I maintain my accolades folder of all the thank yous, kind words, and well wishes ever given to me throughout my time in law enforcement. Every sticky note, thank you card, coloring page, letter, each special in its own way. I often find myself looking through that folder, and it makes me smile to think someone thought enough of me to share a kind word, because it's these little things that tell me perhaps I did do good. That folder's been in my footlocker in the Army, my closet in college, my wall locker as a state police trooper, my bottom desk drawer as a state police sergeant, my filing cabinet as a chief of police, and it currently resides in my home office bookcase. The little things in the folder are what motivate me and make me realize I do make a difference. To me, they're not little at all. As my final assignment to your class on April 15th, 2021, I asked each of you to write one thing good, nice, or special about every other cadet in your class and yourself. I did this for a few reasons. First, we all need to hear a kind word about ourselves now and then. So often, we have no idea just how special we are, and we need to hear it from others. Second, as important as it is to hear something nice, good, or special about ourselves, it is equally important to take the time and write something good, nice, or special about someone else. Police officers come in all shapes and sizes. There is no one type of person that makes the best police officer. There are many different critical skills a human being may possess, each as important as the next. The secret is to find what we are good at, what we are passionate about, and work at perfecting that skill. Find your superpower. Albert Einstein said, "We are all geniuses, but if we judge a fish by how well it can climb a tree, it will spend its entire life thinking it's stupid." At the start of this ceremony, I placed a folder under each one of your seats as a thank you to all of you for what you've done for me. I've taken the liberty of starting your accolades folder for you. I hope in years to come you will fill it with everything nice, good, or special about you. I'm confident it will be bursting at the seams in no time. This accolade folder has in it a special few things. A personal letter of thanks from me to you for all that you have done for me. Your own copy of the 22 things, good, nice, or special that others have said about you. And your first accolade What My Class Thinks of Me certificate. This award certificate is 100% unofficial, and it is based solely on what each of you have said about each other, as well as my interpretation and explanation. For the past 2 months, you have hounded me incessantly about the results, as you all wanted to know what others said about you, and not wanting to take away from the formal curriculum. I'm here tonight to share just how special each one of you are. I will ask you, please, to open your folders from under your seats. Take them out. You can move from at attention. Take them out. Open your folders. Take out the blue award. You didn't know there were going to be instructions too, right? There might be a test. Take out the blue award and read them to yourselves as I share them with the audience. Cadet Angel Abreu Nunez, Best Interpreter. Alexander Beloga, Best Captain. Brandon Bocik, Best Demophile. And for all of you who don't speak Greek, demos means people, and philos means loving. You are the most humorous because you love people. Chris Bellis, the Best Motivator. Angel Cicero, Most Professional. Taryn Crawford, Most Generous. Mason DeBoulis, the Strongest. Chris Dimmick, Ace Mechanic. Sophia Hauntz, the Best Class Mom. Ashley Harris, Most Courageous. Brianna Mandak, the Best Advocate. Tyler Norton, Most Caring. Nico Palermo, the Most Valiant. Jacob Piazza, the Most Considerate. John Rodriguez, the Most Reliable. Elizabeth Champenour, the Smartest. Alan Stroll, the Hardest Worker. Jessica Sirkin, the Most Knowledgeable. Kyle Watson, the Most Selfless. Michael Waymeyer, always faithful. Brian Wartola, the bravest, and Jordan Yannick, the most helpful. I have just identified your superpower and provided each of you with your own ruler to measure genius by. Someday when you question if you're doing a good job, making a difference, or helping anyone at all, I hope you can look at this folder and realize you are special, and many people think so. I know I do. Lesson 1, everyone is a genius. Use your superpower. You could put your folders away. The second lesson is perhaps the most important of all. Lesson 2, you never know. We listened to the power of Admiral McRaven through our time together, eloquently teaching us the 10 lessons on how to change the world. But what if we don't want to change the world? What if all we want is to do good work and to feel like we're making a difference somewhere, somehow, to someone? Here's the rest of the story. For much of my law enforcement career, I wanted to be an instructor. I had that desire for at least 20 years. I spent a good deal of time instructing while I was a state trooper, but I was never able to go to the instructor development course. 4 years ago, when I attempted to become an instructor, I found out because I lacked the piece of paper from the instructor development course, I could not teach as an academy instructor. In August 2020, through the good graces of Director Chileri and Deputy Director DeSoy, I was finally allowed to attend the course and become an academy instructor. Year class 252 was the first I instructed from day one. There's a tie a person has with their first anything. Your first car, your first bicycle, your first love, first anything. I would see how others instructors instructed, and I realized I wasn't quite the same. I mean, I'd often sit in on Mrs. DeAndrea's classes and saw how awesome she was. I began to wonder just how good a job I was actually doing. I'm no Mrs. DeAndrea. I have no special skills like DT, PT, EMT, DTST, EVOC, firearms, or the like. Unsure how good I was doing, each day I'd come home and I'd say to Mrs. DeAndrea, I'm not doing any good. I suck. I was not getting through to the cadets. They don't like me. They don't like my style of teaching. I'm not doing a good job. I can't teach. Mrs. DeAndrea would try to console me and tell me I was being silly. I was being silly, right? And that she was sure I was doing a job, a good job. I felt as if I was just failing at teaching and that you as individuals deserved better. In April 2021, I informed Mrs. DeAndrea my last day with your class, April 14th, was going to be my last day as an instructor. I would instruct that lesson that day, and then I'd speak with Deputy Director DeSoy and let him know the whole instructor thing was not working out, and that I felt it best for the academy to find a better person to teach the cadets. Out of respect for all of you, I felt you deserved better. After all, it's not rocket science. And we know that because we know the rocket equation, delta V equals VE times Ln times MO divided by MF. It's clearly not rocket science. It's much more important than that. I didn't want to be the reason cadets didn't learn the required curriculum. Being a police academy instructor was my dream, but it is too important a position for cadets not to have the best. I showed up April 14th as assigned and worked with Mrs. DeAndrea and Mr. Serkin conducting academy scenarios. It was not an easy day for me. I knew at the end of the day I'd be resigning and putting an abrupt halt to what was a lifelong dream. Lunchtime found me in the classroom, and I received the surprise of my life when Class 252 presented me with a cake and a thank you card. Not just any cake, but a cake with the rocket equation properly written on it. Not just any card, but a card where each cadet from the class wrote a note thanking me and telling me something special they learned from me. As you, Class 252, may be aware, I cried. I'm sure no one in your class knew. I'm sure no one in your class knew I was resigning because I only shared that with Mrs. DeAndrea. That made that cake and card all that more special to me. It was that gesture of thanks that made me realize perhaps I was not that bad after all. And your taking the time to say thank you made me feel incredibly special. Maya Angelou said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." Remember the power that you hold just by taking the time to say thank you, sharing a kind word, or taking the time to do something nice. These are perhaps the greatest gifts that you can bestow upon an individual. Lesson 2. You may never change the entire world for everyone, but you can change someone's world entirely. You've done just that for me. I shall be forever beholden to you. Remember, April 14th was the day you presented me with the card and cake. Instead of my resignation, I requested to be your keynote speaker. Thank you for being so kind and making such a difference in my world. I am a better person and instructor because of our time together. I am incredibly proud of each and every one of you, and I'm confident you will all be exceptional at whatever you set your mind to. It's been my honor and my privilege to be your instructor, spend time with you, and learn from each of you. I look forward to watching your careers unfold. With that, Class 252, I wish you congratulations and Godspeed.
That sure was. Thank you, Frank. And Class 252, thank you. The cake the card. Thank you. Frank does not realize how much he is appreciated. He often spent time in my office sharing with me his thoughts. And he has done that for me many times, what he described. There were times I sat back and said, this COVID thing is really difficult to conduct an academy. It was hard on the instructors. It was hard on the cadets. But all of Frank's talks with me made things a little bit easier and made me realize how important what we do for these cadets really is. As part of our academy program, we have what is called the law enforcement officer, fallen, or deceased officer tribute. It is a tradition at the Lackawanna College Police Academy that each class select a fallen or deceased officer to whom they dedicate their training and graduation. The tradition underscores for the cadets the serious nature of their job and how important it is to perform their duties with honor, not only for themselves and those they serve, but in order to do justice to the men and women and canines who lay down their lives in this profession. Each class, upon graduation, then becomes referred to as the name of their fallen officer. This has been a tradition that we've had in place for many years. Class 252 selected and recognized PA State Police Corporal Joseph Picorni. A certificate honoring Corporal Picorni will be sent to the Pennsylvania State Police and his family to memorialize the service and ultimate sacrifice that he made. Corporal Picorni was shot and killed following a short pursuit near an exit ramp in Carnegie, Pennsylvania. A violent struggle ensued after the driver of the vehicle crashed. During the struggle, the suspect was able to gain control of the corporal's service weapon. The suspect shot him in the neck and chest. The round that struck him in the chest entered an area around his armpit, not protected by his vest. The suspect then stole his patrol vehicle and fled the scene, along with his service weapon. The suspect, who had been on parole for less than 1 month, was taken into custody later that day and officially charged with his death. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He had served the Pennsylvania State Police for more than 22 years and assigned to Troop B, Pittsburgh. He is survived by a son, daughter, and parents. His son graduated from the Pennsylvania State Police Academy on March 15, 2013. And it is our honor to recognize him. At this time, we will have the banner ceremony. The captain of Class 252 will now step forward as part of the banner ceremony. Captain will receive the banner of the fallen officer that will be affixed to the guidon. The guidon is adorned with streamers bearing the names of the fallen officers who have been honored by our past academy graduates. The guidon then stands at the entrance of our academy as a reminder to each current and incoming cadet of those who have gone before them in this profession. It is the respect, the importance, and the magnitude of the commitment that we all are making to this profession. One of the other traditions of the Lackawanna College Police Academy is a presentation to each cadet of a challenge coin depicting the Academy logo and mission: honor, integrity, and courage. And my words to Class 252 is very simple. These are not just words. You shall wake up every morning, put on your uniform, and I challenge you to say, honor, integrity, and courage. Many of my counterparts have heard me say, the current events that we are in are not pleasant. And we do take responsibility for officers who fail to practice honor, integrity, and courage. Mr. DeNaples had said earlier, it's not about the money. I can assure you that many of our instructors can take an extra shift or an overtime shift and probably make triple of what they're paid here. But I see it in the instructors' eyes. I see it in their thoughts and what they do and how they look and how they approach every class. It truly is about producing the best law enforcement officers and future leaders in law enforcement. Each cadet will receive a challenge coin along with their graduation packet tonight, memorializing this special event. And I challenge you to keep that with you on duty as a reminder of honor, integrity, and courage. I thank you for what you have done for us. So often the cadets think, well, the instructors put it forward for them. But truly, we learn from you every session, every graduating class. In closing, I would like to thank everyone, especially the instructors, staff, dignitaries, and family members, especially the family members and friends that are here tonight. It is because of you the cadets were able to succeed in this program, your support. Well, Class 252, you've made it. You join a legacy of officers that over the last 48 years of this police academy have graduated and moved on to careers in law enforcement and have become some of the greatest law enforcement leaders I have ever met. I am humbled to be part of starting your career. I wish you the best, and I challenge you to live by honor, integrity, and courage. Once again, I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. Stay true to your mission, cadets. Loved ones, family members, friends, your job is difficult. Being the loved one, family member, or friend of a law enforcement officer is challenging. And I challenge you to be there for your graduate, for your new officer. And with that, I say thank you, and please know you always have a home at Lackawanna College. Have a good evening. Drill Instructor Hughes, take charge for the final time of Class 252.
Aye, aye, sir. Class, out, left, fight! Over! North!
Good job, John.
Thank you.
Good job.
I thought you forgot me, and then I thought you were happiest about
Like we were doing it the last couple of years.
At the last I really want to.